That is true. I was going to say, we are looking at the Mega Steelix that finished second place at the Indianapolis Regional Championships, piloted by, someone I think we may have heard of, but centered around that. The rest of this team, it's the Kangaskhan, it's Fake Out and Last Resort as the only two moves on the Kangaskhan, with Silk Scarf and the scrappy ability to be able to hit ghosts. We'll see that right away next to the Farigiraf that has the Colberberry item that I don't think we're going to really see how much use out of here in this set.
Don't believe it can activate. But we do get the lead of that Kangaskhan Farigiraf, so a pretty safe lead from Brian here, establishing I want to set up Trick Room, and then I want to start hitting hard. And Jonathan immediately threatening those very strong Electro Shots that can set up the Archaludon, as well as the fact that if a Fake Out were to go into Archaludon here, it would just get a boost. But foregoing that smartly, going into the Politoed here, it is going to flinch. And Archaludon going to be able to get off the Electro Shot here. Likely going to be going into the Farigiraf to get that down.
Immediately, the Fake Out goes into the Politoed, makes that Pokemon flinch, but the Electro Shot getting some pretty key damage off onto this for Kangaskhan, as Farigiraf will set Trick Room. So Farigiraf still very healthy, and Kangaskhan losing a little bit over half of his HP. Don't know how important the Kangaskhan's HP is, but I think the real big question is now how these Pokemon will interact in the speed order. Are we going to have, who's going to move first? How is the Kangaskhan trained? We do see on the team sheet that it is the Brave stat alignment, so it's going to be lowering its speed relative to the standard neutral speed stat of a Kangaskhan, whereas the Archaludon and the Politoed both have stat alignments that are going to not lower their speeds. So that is something that I think is going to be a very interesting interaction here. Kangaskhan, of course, naturally faster than both of those Pokemon.
Yeah. So with that natural speed advantage, would normally obviously outspeed, but being that it is the Brave nature, has the chance to underspeed, and we do see it underspeed right here, as it is able to get this Politoed down extremely low on HP, as Archaludon's Electro Shot is going to come out. If it goes into that Camerupt, not going to do any damage, but if it goes into that Kangaskhan, that is going to be a Kangaskhan removed from the field, and a free switch for Brian. What is scary here is if we see Jonathan just click a water move, that Camerupt is gone. And we do see the Weather Ball, so Brian going to lose two Pokemon here, including his one of his Megas if we don't see Steelix here, which I can't imagine is going to be here in front of a Rain team. But then again, I didn't expect Camerupt to be either.
That's true. Unfortunately, it's the kind of matchup where neither of your Mega Pokemon are extremely strong into the primary mode of your opponent's team. It's really just a big swing from Brian on turn 2 there. Really confident, it seemed, in the Last Resort from base Kangaskhan in knocking out that Politoed from, say 85% of its HP. Just Politoed with the bold stat alignment, increasing its defense, lowering the attack, and giving it just the extra bulk that it needs to survive that very strong hit. It's a 140 base power move before the same type attack bonus, before the Silk Scarf bonus is added onto it. It's just, really goes to show how bulky this Politoed is, and pays off immediately, puts Jonathan ahead 4-2 in the Pokemon count, and hasn't even revealed, I was going to say hasn't revealed the back two Pokemon, but we'll see the Scovillain come out right now.
Yeah, I think what it really comes down to there is Brian had to play this one in a way where he was able to get the Camerupt in safely, but kind of jumped the gun, as you said, thinking that this Kangaskhan would be able to take out the Politoed, and just not able to do that, and just loses any momentum that he had for himself right away on that turn 2.
And then the Scovillain with the Moody gets the boost, doubling its special defense, lowering its defense. Just the perfect boost that you could get from Moody, which of course activates randomly, raising a random stat by 2 stages, lowering a random stat by 1 stage.
20% chance to get it right in that situation, and it did.
Yeah, just perfectly played there for the Scovillain. And of course, the Protect on the Archaludon on the Helping Hand boosted Moonblast takes no extra damage on that turn, gets your Scovillain in free. At that point, that's why we see the Game 1 forfeit locked in by Brian. Not really a way that you can get out of that game.
Yeah, I think Jonathan definitely can get something done if Camerupt is able to come in safely here. It has a fantastic matchup into everything not named Polytoad, I'd say.
Oh yeah. And you mean Brian would be able to get something done with that camera up?
That's right. Brian would get things done with that camera up, not Jonathan. Jonathan,
Yeah.
thank you.
We got the team sheets on the wrong side. We can fix that error.
Thank you, June. But yeah, just getting away scot-free with everything in that situation, and Brian not giving himself the time to get his team in a position to win. So slow it down, maybe, like the Trick Room's supposed to do.
Exactly. The issue, of course, is that that's kind of the big issue that Trick Room runs into in the current format, is that because so many Pokemon are trained to be so bulky, because so many Pokemon are just carrying Protect to be able to stall extra turns, when you're running a hard Trick Room team like Brian is, you often feel forced to kind of rush things a little bit, to make sure that you're getting on the field with your speed control as soon as possible, because with those Protects, with the bulk, your Archaludon that's extremely bulky, your Politoed with the bold nature, the Scovillain that is well known as one of the bulkier Mega Pokemon, it's pretty easy to stall out those extra 4 turns. It looks like we're going to see a run back of that first turn of Game 1. The Fake Out goes in the Politoed, Electro Shock comes out. We'll have to see the target once the animation is finished, but either way, I think that's just crucial damage to get on the board. And as we saw, just a little bit over half, actually doing a little bit more damage with the roll on this Electro Shot into the Kangaskhan. This Trick Room will get set.
Yeah, I think Brian, knowing that this Last Resort may not KO the Politoed this time, is going to be in a much better position to just throw out some damage with the Farigiraf. And knowing, I don't really mind so much if a stamina boost goes on this Archaludon, given that if he did bring the camera up in the back, it's not going to be affected as it is a special attacker, or may have foregone bringing either of his Megas altogether in favor of Primarina and Gallade.
Yep, the Gallade is a Pokemon that I think is quite strong in this matchup. We didn't see it in Game 1, but with the Focus Sash item and holding or having access to Sacred Sword, a move that is a super effective into Archaludon and does not care about the special defense or the regular defense boosts, could be really impactful, as it's going to be a helping hand Last Resort into that Politoed slot on the Scovillain that switches in, immediately removing that Mega Pokemon option from the field for Jonathan.
Yeah, and that's a lot of damage. I wouldn't have been surprised if without Helping Hand that KO'd the Scovillain, but with the Helping Hand, definitely going to. Archaludon going to go for another Electro Shot here. If it goes into that Kangaskhan, a free switch going to be on the field for Brian, but no, smartly just targeting down that Farigiraf. Going to do just over half. And this Archaludon's in a very, very good spot to keep attacking and also stall out that Trick Room. And Sylveon hitting the field for Jonathan.
Yep, the Archaludon just unabated in clicking 2 Electro Shots these first couple of turns. And for good reason. There really isn't an attack, at least on the field right now for Brian, that does all that much damage to the Archaludon. The Kangaskhan, of course, just has access to Fake Out and Last Resort, both normal-type moves. The Farigiraf has Psychic and Foul Play as damaging options. Archaludon, not a Pokemon known for its very high physical attack stat. So,
yeah.
Just not really ways for Brian to at least make progress into that slot, so that's why we see the commitment of the Helping Hand Last Resort into the Politoed. Just the question now of, Sylveon hitting the field. It can protect, or can click detect a protecting move. Mm-hmm. So do you target into that Sylveon, or make the play that Brian is, calling maybe more of a passive play on Jonathan's side, as no protect comes out, Psychic into Sylveon, fairly meaningful damage. But it's just a Hyper Voice, and it's where will the Archaludon's attack land? It will be a Dragon Pulse, but going into the Farigiraf. Now we see the camera up to get onto the field safely, and with, I believe, 2 turns left of Trick Room, now is in a position where it can actually start firing off some of those really strong attacks.
Yeah. So Primarina going to hit the field here for Brian. Another special attacker, so it can do some good damage into that Archaludon. Kind of surprised that we didn't see Kangaskhan come back out to throw out a Fake Out into this Sylveon. Because, Sylveon, it's not threatening the Primarina or the camera up all too much, but Kangaskhan would have been able to set that offensive pressure up a lot more. But with 2 turns of Trick Room left, it is going to be tough for Brian to get out the damage he needs onto the field in time. Because right now, Archaludon just has Protect at its disposal here. And likely going to see a double Protect here as Sylveon going for the Detect, the slowest thing on the field. As actually Camerupt just goes for the Earth Power into Archaludon for the one-hit KO with that Sheer Force boost. Not going to care about it. And that is off the field. And we're going to have to see the Politoed come in now with 1 turn of Rain left. Not what it wants to have to deal with.
Yeah, a crucial turn in which to take that KO on the Archaludon and force the Politoed back on the field. Now if you're Brian, you could even consider just protecting both of your Pokemon here. Stall out this last turn of Rain. The Politoed, the only quote-unquote water-type move that it has access to is that Weather Ball. So once this last turn of Rain expires, it's just going to be throwing out a 50 base power normal type Weather Ball or an Icy Wind. And then you have the Sylveon that only has fairy attacks into your Camerupt that resists fairy moves. Now all of a sudden, because of where the Earth Power was targeted that last turn, Brian in a very strong spot as Earth Power not quite enough to pick up that KO on the Politoed, but Moonblast following it up. No Protect available to that Politoed as well, very important. So a pretty safe double up, as long as you know both of your Pokemon are slower. For Brian, Hyper Voice coming out from the Sylveon, now going to be the fastest thing on the field with Trick Room ending, but as we saw, that Hyper Voice damage just not really what you expect from a Sylveon.
Yeah, and I mean, we all know here that Moonblast always KOs. Preener Marina getting that Moonblast KO into the Politoed, getting its last bit of HP. Politoed not having Protect here was really big for it, and the Archaludon not going for Protect on that last turn to stall out the Trick Room. Interesting idea. I don't know if he was expecting, sort of an over-prediction or what there. Or just the fact that, there was only 1 turn left of Rain. What can you really do with it? Politoed's going to come in. It can't set Rain on switch. And it is carrying Rain Dance, so had it come out of Trick Room, it could have set Rain again. But
yeah, there were 2 turns of Trick Room left whenever the Archaludon fainted, so you do end up in that position, but certainly these are things that our players will take into the 3rd game as Earth Power comes out from the Camerupt, sends us to Game 3. The critical hit, I don't believe mattered there for the final 54 hit points on that Sylveon.
Unlikely.
Could be close.
Yeah.
But a strong performance from Sinister Professor McQueen on that side, and now the series tied up 1-1. What is that big adjustment, do you think, Jake? These 2 players, it seems like approach those games pretty much the same way.
Yeah.
It's just, about the pacing that we saw between Game 1 and Game 2.
Yeah, I think that Jonathan could go with that Scovillainous Spathra lead this time. Given that we did see it was just Fake Out, Last Resort, and a Farigiraf that's not throwing out a lot of offensive pressure, getting 1 Calm Mind up with a Spathra would do wonders against Brian's team, given it is so specially attacking-oriented. Other than that, Kangaskhan, and we haven't seen Gallade really come. If Mega Scovillain hits the field turn 1, and maybe goes for a Leak Seed, so Pokemon have to be cycled, as Spathra can start setting up Calm Minds next to it, I think that could be a way to get the tempo in his favor. Because, the lead he's doing right now is setting up the Archaludon, but is susceptible to, once Archaludon takes a KO, having the Camerupt and back come and sweep through that. And the amount of offensive pressure that Kangaskhan's putting on the Politoed means it can't stick on the field terribly long to deal with that Camerupt. So I think Jonathan may have to make an adjustment here to not necessarily prevent Trick Room from going up, but start getting ahead of what the Trick Room sweepers are able to do.
Yeah, and I like that adjustment. I think the key for both of those 2 games, that player who was on the losing end wasn't really able to get any use out of the Mega Pokemon that they brought to that game.
Yeah.
The Camerupt fainted upon switching in Game 1. The Scovillain fainted upon switching in Game 2. Now, only one of those two Pokemon can really be led safely in this matchup. The Camerupt really needs Trick Room up before it can hit the field, where Scovillain really likes to be sent out early, and just as you called it, Nostradamus Jake Major going to say the Espathra and the Scovillain lead, and I really love this position for Jonathan. Not just, the ability to click Rage Powder to allow your Espathra to get the Calm Mind boosts to potentially pass to your special attackers, but like you called out, Jake, really the only physical threat that we've seen Brian show thus far in the series is that Kangaskhan. And Mega Scovillain's ability, of course, the Spicy Spray, any move that makes contact with it, or any move that hits it, burns the attacker. Could be a great way to limit the Kangaskhan's offensive output. Then you can start to ignore that Pokemon if it is going to be something like the Archaludon and the Politoed in the back. We've seen already how bulky the Politoed is, and the Archaludon, resisting all of the attacks that Kangaskhan can throw out. Fake out into the Espathra's Protect will be here first as Overheat comes out immediately. No Leech Seed, just going for that damage, and quite a bit of it coming out from Mega Scovillain. We are not going to be seeing any Moody boosts at the end of this turn because the Scovillain did choose to Mega Evolve here. As Trick Room does go up, we will see the speed boost a little bit, counter to the idea of being under Trick Room, but I think most of Jonathan's Pokemon are going to be moving after Brian's under Trick Room anyway, as we've seen over the first couple of games.
Yeah, and we saw how little the Farigiraf did to the Politoed in Game 1. It's not oriented toward its special attacking prowess here, so I doubt that any attack from Farigiraf will KO the Scovillain here. And, Kangaskhan's going to have to attack into that slot if it wants to attack, while Espathra is free to just get up a Calm Mind while Scovillain clicks that Rage Powder. And Farigiraf going for the Helping Hand here. That might actually get a KO into the Scovillain, but as Jonathan perfectly wants here, going to get a burn onto that slot and is going to let Espathra start doing exactly what it wants to do. Last Resort does come out, and with all those modifiers, is going to KO the Scovillain and get the burn onto the Kangaskhan. Espathra, what are you going to do? I'm guessing you're going to Calm Mind. And we do see that come out. So that special defense boost is going to be huge. Special attack also going to be pretty big for it. And if we see something like the Sylveon get passed to, going to be a Pokemon that even Mega Camerupt is going to have a tough time breaking just due to its typing.
Yeah, we do see the Politoed hit the field first. If I were a betting woman, I'd guess it's the Archaludon in the back, seeing how the rain is going to be set up ahead of that fourth Pokemon on Jonathan's side. Crucially, 3 turns remaining of Trick Room. If you are the kind of player who needs to stall out the Trick Room, this is a wonderful position for you to just protect both of your Pokemon. You're able to protect with 3 turns left, you have to absorb 1 attack with 2 turns left, and you can just protect on the final turn of Trick Room. Of course, that's open to the Espathra, but the Politoed, as we've established, does not have access to protect. But I don't think either of these Pokemon are really under too much threat right now. I think Jonathan can kind of keep with the game plan as it stands currently. Keep getting your Calm Mind boosts, just throw out some Weather Balls with your Politoed for damage to keep Brian honest. But as of right now, really not much that's threatening as far as big damage-wise. I guess that Psychic does a little bit, may be enough to take out the Politoed in 3 Psychics.
Yeah.
But, we're just going to see another. It's actually the Baton Pass right away from the Espathra, foregoing a second Calm Mind and going to show us the 4th and final Pokemon on Jonathan's side, and it is going to be that Archaludon coming out with, at this point it should be 2 boosts to its speed, 1 boost to its special attack, and 1 boost to its special defense, and in just a phenomenal position against really everything on Brian's side except for that Gallade, if it did make an appearance, and Brian was bold enough to leave both of those Mega Pokemon on the bench here in this 3rd and final game.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with my Mega Camerupt calcs, especially into Archaludon at +1. Wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't able to KO, but we do see a Helping Hand Moonblast go into the Politoed, calling out a potential protect from Archaladon here trying to stall, as we are just going to see the Electroshock come out from Archaladon. If it goes into this Primarina right here, definitely going to be a knockout at +2 special attack, and would clear the way for a switch in, and one more turn of Trick Room would easily be stalled by Archaladon. Politoed off the field, and both Espathra and the Archaladon able to protect and stall out this Trick Room.
Yeah, it's an interesting decision, who you target with that Electroshot. Because, of course, you do have the KO that you see on the field into that as Primarina, weak to electric-type moves. But there is an argument to be made to Electroshot into the Farigiraf. At +2 special attack, I would think the Farigiraf likely still survives that attack.
Yeah.
But putting that in range of any kind of attack from the Espathra or the Archaladon to follow up to prevent another Trick Room. Now you're in a position where you give the free switch into the Camerupt with one final turn of Trick Room available, but you do have now your Camera or your Espathra and your Archaladon. The Espathra with 0 boosts not threatening all that much damage on the field right now, and the Archaladon, even with the +1 to its special defense stat, I would imagine it's not going to take an Earth Power from this Camerupt especially well, especially if you factor in the Helping Hand boost. But Brian just faking us out early with that Camerupt as he brings out the Pokemon with Fake Out, with no Protects on Jonathan's side. Bold plays from both of these players.
Yeah, so bold, like you say. The Lumina Crash going into this Farigiraf, going to harshly lower the special defense. Jonathan smartly not taking that bait, is going to go for a +3 Electroshot into the -2, I would assume, Farigiraf, and that would leave no room for Trick Room to go back up on Brian's side here. Farigiraf is going to drop to that, and now we have a burnt Kangaskhan at low HP and a full health 2B Mega Camerupt versus an Espathra and an Archaladon that are starting to get set up. Trick Room down, and at this point, the Espathra now faster than the Archaladon can get the Illumina Crash off beforehand, whereas in Trick Room, it crucially, I was curious about this interaction, did not outspeed the Archaladon, was slower at that point, and was able to get the drops onto the Farigiraf, which I think did matter based on what we saw when it was +2 earlier in this set. Mega Camerupt is coming out, but it may be too little too late. Needed to go offensive that last turn. Espathra going to protect. Archaladon likely going to protect in the face of a Fake Out from Mega Kangaskhan. And now at +3 stages of special attack and the potential to get -2 onto this Camerupt with a Lumina Crash is going to be in a very good position to win this game.
Yeah, and I like what you called out there, Jake. The speed interaction underneath Trick Room. The Espathra at that point didn't have any speed boosts from its ability, had just hit the field, while the Archaladon was at +2 speed, allowed it to still operate in the order that you want it to do.
Yeah.
You always want the Espathra to act before the Archaladon, but in this case, it was because the Espathra is actually still slower. Now we get into a position where these Pokemon are just trading Protects back and forth. The Lumina Crash and the Dragon Pulse going into the Camerupt Protect as the burned Last Resort into Espathra. Not quite the damage you need, and after Citrus Berry recovers some HP for Espathra, I don't even know if another Last Resort is going to be enough there.
No, ma'am. Yeah, so that would have been definitely enough damage. I believe I saw it go from 140 to 65, which was 75 damage. Damage rolls unknown to us, but after that, Citrus Berry definitely going to be able to survive, and Scovillain's last gift to this Kangaskhan of a burn gonna clinch this one up for Jonathan. Even had a double protect come out, as we said, that last resort rather, even with a critical hit would not have KO'd this Espathra. And now the -2 Camerupt versus the +3 Archaladon is going to be knocked out here. Jonathan playing that extremely well, and playing a pretty risky game in that last turn of Trick Room to say, you go Camerupt. I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm betting it all here. And that paid off perfectly as Jonathan is going to take this set 2-1 over Brian. A burned Mega Kangaskhan that is slower than both these Pokemon, unfortunately, cannot break it, and we are going to see Brian concede there to Jonathan.
Yeah, and after, the pretty explosive first couple of games, it's not seeing too much action out of our Mega Pokemon. Well, now we got to see what a real Mega Pokemon looks like. It's that Scovillain getting the bird immediately on this Mega Kangaskhan, or on the regular Kangaskhan, rather, to allow the rest of the game to set up. You could see the game plan unfold as Jonathan was playing it out. It was extremely impressive in that game 3, just the control over the board position, and all, of course, coming down to that turn that you mentioned, the crucial turn, last turn of Trick Room, where Jonathan forgoes any protects, forgoes a defensive play, and just goes ahead and gets a little bit more damage on the board, removes the Trick Room setter from Brian's side. At that point, just about sealing it up, barring critical hits or 3 or 4 protects in a row from this camera.
Yeah, props on that last turn of Trick Room. I would have clicked a double protect
I'm
10
clicking double
times out of
protect
10.
100 times out of 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, really fun set to watch. I believe that third game was the first time we actually saw both Pokemon Mega Evolve, as both got knocked out on their switch-in turns, unable to Mega at all. So finally got to see 2 Megas on our first Champions stream here at Balance Patch.
Yeah. Always exciting. We're getting the little golf claps from Gerd. And that will take us into round 3 here at Balance Patch. We'll be right back after a short little break, so don't go anywhere.